Welcome, everybody. It's 7:03 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order. If you would all please stand and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Rory, whenever you're ready, if you call roll, please.
Councilmember Robinson. Here. Gebel.
Here.
Councilmember Brown is here. Billings here. And Glover's not on. Glover is absent for the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe joining.
I feel like a jerk now that I didn't even notice that Bryant wasn't here.
Oh, he just went out to do a phone call. He'll be right back.
Great. All right, next up, we've got the Unified Police Department report. We'll hear from Chief Thomas.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you can see, I brought some security tonight. First of all, I want to apologize for the May financial and stat report is a little bit later than I normally release it. I just released it this morning, but we let our analyst out of the cage and let her go on vacation, and she just returned last Friday. So I was able to complete the stat report and get that to you. Interesting note, in May, we had the lowest case count we've had in 5 years. And I'm hoping it stays that way and trends down. I'll be surprised if it does, but we'll see. That's a good sign. With that, we had 2,547 calls for service, 702 cases. And generally we're right in the 800 to 900 cases a month. So that's a good trend. We wrote 496 citation, 43 of those warning citation, 453 were penalty, and 188 of those were from the selective traffic enforcement shifts. If you've been over to the precinct lately, and we welcome you to drop in anytime, there's been significant build out in the last week with the special victims unit, the violent crimes unit coming into our station, as well as training starting to build out. It smells like new furniture and cubicles right now. We're hoping to get rid of that smell because it's not a great smell, but it's becoming home. I want to highlight that Sergeant Benedict organized our administrative checkpoint where we conducted a stop. What we did is we'd stop 7 cars at a time. We'd hold them for no more than 90 seconds, just as traffic flowed. If it started to back up, we'd let the cars flow through. During that checkpoint, we did have Don Emery was there. The mayor was there the entire time. Councilmember Billings came and observed for a while. And I'd say all in all, it was pretty educational, fun, and we really didn't have a lot of kickback from any of the public. So with the 5 DUI arrests, we also got 2 possession of controlled substance. About 785 cars were pulled over to the side and stopped during that transition. So it was a really successful operation. I want to point out that on June 5th, Mayor Stevenson and Matt Dahl, as well as the council, were recognized at the award ceremony for UPD, and that being that Station 125 project that we did with Metro Gangs last summer was recognized and obviously very successful. They had like 30 of these, I would say, very vulnerable kids where they were able to keep an eye on them through the summer and give them some options other than getting in trouble. It was a great model, and it was done for minimal cost. So it was nice to see that recognized. Also at the award ceremony, it was amazing to see that the Midvale precinct compared to a lot of the other precincts, a lot of awards. And I didn't really think of it because they come, through the year, but a lot of them were life-saving awards. One in particular, there was a young lady that was going to jump from the overstock terrace, and our officers went up there, started talking to her, and just at the last second reached out and grabbed her as she was hanging from those cables on the 4th level of that, and with a fence right below her. So there was another where there was an active fire, and your code enforcement Muttley. He is, as well as some others, ran in, and there was a gentleman that was in a chair where the fire was actually climbing up the wall behind him, and they just picked up the chair and ran out with him. And Muttley may have picked a fight with firemen because they said, "What are you getting an award for?" And he said, "Doing fireman stuff," and that makes him mad, but that's okay. I have I want to point out that we are losing Sergeant Richardson. He is your shelter resource officer. I'm proud to say he's on our lieutenant's list. He is going to be promoted to lieutenant July 1st. We've also kind of pulled with the transition with the sheriff's office separating from UPD. July 11th is a scheduled promotional ceremony. However, that exact same day, Sergeant Richardson's son's going to leave on his mission, and it was going to cause his son to not be able to see his promotion. So, with permission from Matt Dahl and Mayor, I don't know if you heard on the back end, we're gonna book the council on July 2nd. So if you guys decide not to have a council meeting, we're going to be in here at 6 p.m. given the promotion to soon to be Lieutenant Richardson. If you are here, we're just going to be a part of your first council meeting in July. So we'll take a little bit of your time. But that being said, we've had quite a bit of movement, and we are having quite a bit of movement. As some of these, I have 2 awards, Division Commander awards I want to present tonight. In doing so, we're going to have, actually have Chief Matherin here. He's going to come up and present one of the awards. The second award, Division Commander Award, is for Grant Richardson's unit, and he's going to read the citation for his own people. So, gentlemen, if you'd please come up here. Grant. The best part of this Division Commander Award is I gave the award to read to Chief Matherin, and he gave it to soon to be Lieutenant Grant Richardson. So we're going to have him read the citation, then one at a time we'll call his people up here, present them with their certificate, and we'll proceed from there. Go ahead, Grant.
Good evening. Midvale City hosts the Road Home Family Shelter, providing a year-round service for families experiencing homelessness. The Midvale Shelter Unit is tasked with the security and safety of those businesses and neighborhood communities that surround the Road Home. The Shelter Resource Unit is staffed by a sergeant and 6 detectives, with each member of the unit having specialized skills to help manage those experiencing homelessness. Each detective is also assigned to work with one of the units Each detective is also assigned to work with one of the units that manage those experiencing homelessness. Each detective is also assigned to work with one of the units that specialize in gangs, narcotics, mental health, domestic violence, fraud, theft, and assault. This unit also provides businesses, schools, and residents various training classes. Shelter resource officers work within the road home, providing security and social services to assist the facility clients. This team aids the road home staff by helping each family move towards a quality path of self-reliance and stability. In 2023, the Midvale Shelter Unit provided approximately 950 services to individuals experiencing homelessness. They assist in cleaning up 125 camps of squatters and homeless individuals. The unit seized over 7 pounds of illegal drugs and drug paraphernalia from the streets of Midvale, as well as within the shelter. The unit also confiscated 4 illegally possessed firearms, collected approximately 150 tons of garbage from Midvale homeless camps, located and returned several items of stolen property back to the registered owners, and helped place 23 individuals into alcohol drug rehab programs. The unit's proactive approach has ensured that illegal encampments within Midvale do not exist. When encountered, homeless and transient individuals are present with alternative choices. Other cities and shelters have adapted their program after the manner of Midvale City. The shelter unit has been applauded for their success by state lobbyists and other city officials all over Salt Lake Valley. The Midvale Shelter Unit has pioneered the way for law enforcement to help keep our streets clean and safe, not only for families and individuals experiencing homelessness, but for residents and businesses of Midvale. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so you know, that is the majority of that is Grant's work and his vision. We're going to miss that. Sergeant Chacon is actually going to take over for Grant, and it's big boots to fill. So first award is to Grant. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you very much. Detective Andrea Gasway, I believe is, where's she on vacation? Canada. So she's in the great north. Detective Josh Stilson, he is in Alaska on a cruise in the north. By the way, there's no leave in June, by the way. Detective Will Clark, come on up, Will. Will's a great detective. We did have Brittany Washington. Now, Brittany has been on long-term military leave. She's a single mom of 3 and has joined the Air Force and just received, she went through basic training, I believe in Texas, advanced training on the East Coast. She's back now and will be back to work next week. She was in our office to get this, but she had to do some kid stuff, so she was unable to make it. But we do miss Brittany. She'll be back. She's also, I think, going to be coordinating our mental health within the community. And Andrew Sakino. Andrew's our funny guy. He's also one of our SWAT operators, so he's a heck of a guy. And you might have heard of Todd Gray. Todd, come on up. Just real quick, Todd Gray is he's leaving the shelter resource unit, but he's going to be in our directed enforcement unit. So win-win. Thank you. We appreciate you guys very much. For the next award, I'm going to actually, do you want to get a shot of everyone? Can you all come up in front of the council and we'll get a glamour shot from you?
Can I say something real quick too?
Yes, please.
You know, as we talk about mitigation and we talk about having police in and around the shelter, I think sometimes people are surprised by how good of a relationship we have with the road home and how thankful they are for having these officers around. And so much of that that relationship is due to Sergeant Richardson. Everything I hear is how that relationship was quite contentious for a long time, that we didn't always get along, and he's just done a ton of work to improve that. And we are so appreciative and are going to miss him. So
we are going to miss him.
The light is on your face. I was trying to do it back here so I could see everyone, but that might have been a mistake.
So should we come down?
Yeah, everyone come down here. Sorry. It's hard with this here.
slide over to
This way?
Yeah. So we're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right in front, like you're, like the kids and the.
That works perfectly. That actually works really well. I'm a little bit of this. Okay, I'll count. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. Thank you guys, that's great.
Lieutenant Malone, come up here while Chief Mason reads this next one, if you would, please. This next award, I'm going to have Chief Mazarin read it off. It is for our directed enforcement unit as well as some cooperation. The interesting one about this one is it is really a team or group effort. Yeah, we had to narrow down who gets this award, but I would say most of our patrol narrowed in on this. So we could, in essence, give this to the entire precinct, but this was a long-term project that was taken on by DEU and Todd Gray. Once again, actually received an award from the district attorney's office for how well he prepared this case for them to screen with the multiple felony screenings that he did do. So I'm going to have Chief Mazarin read this award.
Thanks, Chief, Mayor, and Council, and city staffers. It's good to see you again, and thanks for having me come and be a part of this to celebrate the unbelievable work our officers do. So I'll just quickly read this. From December 2023 to February of 2024, detectives with the Midvale precinct worked a large operation involving a burglary theft ring. There were 4 primary suspects identified and a few secondary. The operation focused on an ongoing criminal enterprise being conducted, which involved aggravated robberies, burglaries, and thefts, so pretty serious felony crimes. The suspects who committed these crimes did so to obtain cash and trade stolen property for financial gain and further their drug habit. Tens of thousands of dollars of stolen property was taken. Further thousands of dollars in property damage were sustained to the business structures. 3 primary suspects were charged by the Salt County District Attorney's Office on multiple felony and misdemeanor charges. Total for an 18 felony, 17 misdemeanor for the first suspect, 10 felony and 11 misdemeanor on the second, 5 felony and 5 misdemeanor on the third. Overall, 12 search warrants were served, and that is a lot of paper. That's a lot of work on the front, the back, and the middle, and everywhere in between, so that's great work. 12 search warrants were served, 9 suspects identified, 6 suspects were arrested, 5 stolen vehicles were recovered, and 4 ounces of methamphetamine were seized. The case involved 30 total criminal acts and investigations. The investigations conducted by Sergeant Aaron Levin, Detective Todd Gray, Detective Christian Olson, Detective Kyle Lydiard, Detective Josh Smith, and Detective Grant Martinez helped alleviate panic and concern from the entire neighborhood that was being victimized by the suspects. Further, their actions eliminated a major criminal syndicate in the Salt Lake Valley. Tens of thousands of dollars worth of property were returned to the rightful owners. Their dedication and tenacity saved many more from becoming victim and released the stranglehold these suspects had on the entire neighborhood. That's great work. That's a big case. So thank you to them.
I'm gonna have Lieutenant Malone read off the names and have them come up and get their awards, please. Sergeant Aaron Levin. They did ask if they had to wear uniforms tonight, and I said yes. Stay here. Detective Todd Gray. Detective Christian Olson. Just real quick, Detective Olson is going to Salt Lake County and being promoted as a sergeant and going to be a new supervisor for their team. So we are losing him. Detective Kyle Lydiard. That is his real name. Everyone calls him Fetch because he's got a foul mouth. Never heard that guy's word ever. Probably won't either. Detective Josh Smith. And Detective Grant Martinez. Come on up, Grant. Picture time.
Stay on it. Sir.
Not all. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. This group is bigger.
As you get seated, council, I just want to, once again, I appreciate your time, as do these officers and detectives. They don't like to bask in any kind of glory or recognition. However, they're well deserving of this. So that concludes my report as well as awards. Do you have any questions or comments for me?
Chief, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Someone reached out to me and asked if there were any volunteer opportunities for, just civilians who want to help in the community. Is there something like that, a program within UPD for them to look into?
They can, they can come talk to me. Really, we don't have a program per se, but some of the volunteer stuff we've done in the past are like our gardens out front or anything like that. I
Yeah.
guess it'd depend what they need. We have a Boy Scout troop from West Jordan that uses our community room about twice a month. They actually came in and cleaned all the exterior windows this last weekend. They've been threatening to do it for about a year and they finally did it and came in. So, I mean, it's just those little tasks that can really help us out. I know our secretary Lori planted the flower beds with her husband last Saturday. And I mean, there's just little things like that, when the place looks good, it feels good. And we're definitely busting at the seams now that we've got more people coming into our parking area. So
Okay, just have them email you.
happy to email or just drop on in.
Okay,
We look forward to helping and partner with our community.
sounds good. Thanks.
Anything else, council?
Yeah, I just want to express my appreciation for Richardson, and I'm really sad he's leaving. I think he's probably one of the best during harvest days and going to each house. I'm really sad he's leaving. He's probably has the best bedside manners, and it's a big loss for Midvale. So if we can get him back, we should. But
I think he'd love.
congrats, good job. I am really bummed about this.
He'd love to kick Ken out of his job, but Ken, I'm keeping him.
That's fair. That's
So,
he does a great job too.
I appreciate the comments on that. I'm sure he does. And, even the comments you mentioned with, that you had got from UFA as to how, UPD and UFA work in this community. We are so busy and so integrated, and we really are a part of this community. It's not just lip service. So we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we'll move into public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for public hearing on the agenda may address the city council at this time by stepping forward to the microphone and giving their names for the record. We do set aside 3 minutes for each public comment, and Pierce, I'll ask if you can pull the timer. And then just so you know, again, because if we have a couple public hearings tonight on salaries and wages for our elected officials and statutory and appointed officers. So if you're here for any other item that are not those two items, now is the time. You can step forward to the microphone, state your name for the record.
Good evening, Council. My name is Lisa Yoder. I was the Summit County Sustainability Manager when HB 411 was passed, the Community Renewable Energy Program. I worked closely with Salt Lake City, Park City, and Summit County to develop that program with Rocky Mountain Power. A couple comments to add to Christopher and Mayor Silvestrini's. The term participant refers to program participant. We're all participants in using the grid. And what the program will do is provide people with an option to have renewable power without paying for the cost of putting solar on their house. I personally have been waiting for this program so that I have the option. I know every community's budget is tight, but 22,000 over 22 years is really a small price for your constituents to have the choice of renewable power versus standard. They have every opportunity to opt out. And I think it's important to note that the Public Service Commission controls the rates, and they have rate cases ongoing with Rocky Mountain Power. So the price will be managed, once it's established, it will be well controlled by Public Service Commission. The opt-out is important because, as Christopher said, by knowing the number of communities in and the number of participants, then they can build the best cost resources and get the best price for the resources for the renewable energy. It helps expedite the grid to clean renewable energy while still using the system that's there and paying and not passing the cost on to non-participants. And by continuing to stay in the program, you have the opportunity to continue to play. If once you're out, you're out, and your constituents won't have the option to choose what kind of power they want. So I would encourage you to support the program when that time comes and stay in the game. It's like Mayor said, it's not perfect, but it's a great start and will help meet air quality goals and clean renewable energy goals, and is a good thing for, I think, for all of us. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, do we have any other public comments?
Councilmen and women, sorry, I've lost my voice due to medication. I'm a little nervous because I've never done this before. But my name's Mackenzie Curtis. I live in East Riverwalk over by Topgolf. And I'm speaking on behalf of quite a few people. I'm on the board as well. Quite a few community members have been addressed that Auto Body Shop wants to go where Progressive is. And I have spoken to them and they have addressed that they don't support it because a few reasons. Environmental, it'll make our neighborhood look more industrial and not residential. And some people in the Parkview townhomes as well. I have been told that the city said to Unique Body Shop that they need to send out notices within 500 feet. I live 800 feet, so I didn't get a notice, which is fine. But we are also told that there was a sign that was supposed to be posted out in front of that that business, and it was not. So I don't know if, steps are being taken properly, but I'm here to address that a lot of people in that neighborhood are not keen on having an auto body shop in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comments? All right. We'll move into reports. For council to be aware, Unified Fire passed their final budget today for UFSA, which is the taxing entity that we pay for fire service through. It's going to come with a 5.4% member fee. And as just a reminder on that they are on a calendar year. So Unified Fire passes the budget, and then Unified Fire Service Area will actually address that coming this December, late fall, early winter. But just 5.4% member fee to UFSA. Now, the other thing, just with fireworks season coming up, I'm sure that Chief Larson, if this was his report tonight, may have mentioned this. This morning in the UFA board meeting, they had mentioned that they are working to get a QR code on every single fireworks. Yeah, stand. That's the word I was looking for. I was gonna say fireworks station, but that wasn't it. Fireworks stand. Yeah, a QR code poster that goes to a map of all the restricted areas within, I don't know if it's countywide or just within UFA areas. Countywide. So that'll be helpful for folks, especially as we've tried to address some of that of where fireworks are and aren't allowed. Hopefully that helps people be safe and make the right choices. They also talked about today just that they really try to staff up during those major holidays, a couple days before and the holiday of. We do see definitely more calls, more incidences. And as Chief Larson says, maybe just have your kids play with glow sticks. All right, there you go. I'm doing your report for you. With UPD, again, I feel like there's an update every single time. This Thursday is our last UPD board meeting within the sheriff's office building. At this point, Mill Creek has offered to host UPD going forward as far as the board meetings go. There's not a whole lot of science behind that, besides that they have the most seats on their council dais, that it can fit the whole UPD board, whereas this couldn't, and no other community could. But they've got enough seats and they've offered to host us. So it looks like, at least for the time being, that's where we'll be moving those meetings to. And just, I thought this was interesting to know, so I thought I would share it. The chief mentioned that into our Midvale precinct, we've got special victims unit, violent crimes unit, and the training unit coming in to our precinct. But for the other precincts, so Kearns is getting IT, records, drones, canine, and crossing guards. Holiday is getting domestic violence and fraud. Mill Creek is getting human resources, finance, admin, and forensics. So by far the most is going into Mill Creek. Just with their new city hall, they are dedicating 2 entire floors to UPD at this point. So we're the precinct is, as the chief said, has been under construction. They'll make that move and we'll see how this goes. Spreading everybody out, but that's kind of, that's where things are headed. And there, I was in the sheriff's office building today and it looks like when you move a house, there's just boxes and boxes everywhere. And they are getting ready to move everything. So lots going on. Lastly, really just want to express my appreciation to staff for all the work into Los Muros on Main. Well, I know that was a ton of work for months and months leading up to that. It was a really fun event. I think the artists really enjoyed it. Community really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So just appreciate all the work that went into that. With that, we move to council reports. Councilmember Billings.
Nothing today.
Thank you. We don't have Glover on, right?
Pardon me?
No Glover. Okay. Councilmember Robinson.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. It's all sort of tied to that mural, the mural event. I thought it was phenomenal. Well done. I love the idea from the beginning, but now that we're adding more and making it a thing, it just seems like we're being known for it more and more each time, right? So I like the idea of getting to 50 and recycling some or whatever. I just think it's an idea as the area is turning over that it's just will bring people there. I think it's a great idea. A few things about that. The first is there's a really cool one on the Penguin Car Wash behind a tree. I don't know if we could, I don't love the idea of being in the business of cutting down trees, but I wonder if we could suggest that and give them a tree to plant somewhere, north or south of that, because they have that whole strip. So not necessarily, hey, we want you to cut your tree down, but let's give them, if we can give them a mature tree to put somewhere so it's viewable, I think it would be nice because it's a very good mural, right? And I don't know if that's an option or if other council members agree, because again, I don't want to cut down trees without replacing them, but I think if we did that, that would be a good place to do that. The second thing, and this, kind of piggybacks off of Unique Auto Body. We've asked them plenty of times now to not park at the fire station, and we need to, from a city standpoint, find a way to make our code fine people substantially for being continual offenders, because that was pretty embarrassing that where we had a mural, like here, you can come to this mural. There was 5 cars. I took some pictures that were like the doors were off, garbage was in them. I mean, just destroyed cars that obviously they're going to fix and they do a good job at it. But to have that in the location where we're like, hey, everyone, come here. This is Midvale, and it looked like garbage. I mean, it looked like a junkyard, and it says fire station. Like we cannot allow that anymore. Like if someone repeatedly does something, we would with the resident, right? Like if they put a spike wall up or something, we'd look for ways to make sure that they, are in trouble, right, for the long term, because before it wasn't like, hey, you just got a lien and you were done and people would do it, and
So I didn't mean to chuckle except for a second. I was like, what kind of wall did he say?
Spike wall.
Yeah, I got you there.
There's another story about that, but we don't have to go into it. But we should have that for the same, and we should have really cleared that out before the event, because when I was there, I'm like, this is, not all council members think that is as cool as I do, but I thought that was also a very cool mural, and I'm excited to see where that goes, short term and long term. But just to have people go and just see garbage, like, I don't know, wasn't fun. Otherwise, everything else was great. Nothing the city did was wrong. I thought it was perfect. Anytime we can do events like that on Main, we should. I just think it's such a unique spot. And people seem to show up. There's a lot of people. So that's all.
Thank you.
Matt, comment to that real quick. I just want to say, we as staff have had a few different things lately where there are people who are sort of taking advantage of how our enforcement system works. And we also share your interest in, we'll be looking at coming back to you with some ways that we can enhance the enforcement penalties and when we can use those, because there have been some people who've taken advantage of that recently, and so we want to make sure that it is a motivating force for people who are violating our ordinances, or more of a motivating force.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Councilmember Gettle.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to mention a few things. One, Mural Festival was a success again, and I'm starting to look forward to it more and more each year, as I think most people are. So we're doing a really great job with that, and I wanted to thank the city staff who are here today for putting a lot of that together, if not most of it. There are other cities who have tried to emulate what we have been doing, and they are not doing as good of a job with it as far as I'm concerned, but I am a biased observer on that one. Secondly, I had the chance to tour the vote sorting and counting facility at the county building yesterday, which was very fascinating. Super secure, and there's a lot of observers there who come every day to watch what's going on. So it's an interesting thing. The county clerk, Lanny Chapman, recommended that any elected official, if you want to go tour the facilities, just send her a message and she'll be happy to let you in and let you see how that all goes. But I was very impressed at how secure the operation is. No matter where I moved, I was followed by a sheriff's deputy who was making sure that, not just me, but everyone, is not getting into places where they shouldn't be. But it is interesting to have that security, but also at the same time, it being a very open forum for the public to come in and view if they want. So thought it was interesting, and everyone here has the same opportunity to take that tour. On the same note, as of earlier this morning, Midvale City was at about 10% voter turnout, which is low with a week to go. But as it so happens in Utah, we tend to all vote at the very last minute. So that number should go up, but I do want to encourage folks to vote in the very important primary election. You can drop your ballot off at any of the ballot drop boxes, which we have one right outside of City Hall, up until Monday next week. After Monday, you can postmark it up until Monday as well. But after Monday, you have to use the drop box or vote in person at City Hall. We're having okay, I wanted to ask that question too, but yes, you can vote at City Hall or any of the other voting centers as well. But I just wanted to mention again, 10% is a little low, little sad, but we're in double digits. Hopefully we can get up to about 20 or 25% citywide. But that's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Dahl.
Great, thank you. Just a couple of things. The first one is the splash pad at the park has tended to be a high maintenance piece of equipment that not only requires work on a regular basis as it's operating, but has often had some pieces go out that have made it so that it's not been as functional as we'd like it to always be. Right now, there is a pump that is out at the splash pad. We've ordered replacement pieces, but I'm only bringing that to the council in case anyone reaches out and says that it's a problem. We're aware of it and we are working on getting that repaired. The second thing is right now we are trying to make it so that there is no city council meeting on July 2nd. I'm not quite calling that yet. The last thing I want to do is tell you it's canceled and then tell you that we had something come up that was emergent that we had to have that meeting for. So if nothing shows up by the end of this week, we'll formally cancel that. But I'm 90% sure that meeting will be canceled.
Matt, will you let us know by the end of the week?
Yeah.
For sure, one way or another. Okay, thank you.
If we lock the doors, can Richardson stay in Midvale, so they don't have to use it?
I think he has equipment on his utility belt that can bust out the windows. I think.
No, that's fair. Okay.
Let's see. So there's that. And then the last thing I just want to do is, as you've probably noticed on the agenda tonight, is the Mariah show. It is I guess we still probably have some steps left with the budget. But tonight is definitely one of the high points, if you will, of the budget process. It is a long, intensive, frustrating process where not only is it probably a little frustrating to work with us to try to get all the things that we need into that budget. But there's a lot of outside partners that make their decisions on fees and their budgets, you know, up until just recently. That changes our budgets, or sorry, that changes our budget. There's revenue sources that change, and every time one of those components moves, then the whole thing has to, you know, it filters through her spreadsheets and formulas and makes changes. And she goes through this job mostly with a smile. We had our barbecue last week, which is in the middle of this budget season. She came up with some really fantastic ideas that staff really enjoyed, and it really just speaks to how even when we're at the height of the most stressful and technical side of her job, she is always thinking about staff and ways to improve the quality of the work environment here. And that speaks a lot to her. So I just wanted to point out how much work she's done and how great she is for the city and how much I appreciate working with her. So that is all I have for this evening.
Great.
Was that too intense? I don't know.
No, I just always make comments up here. I shouldn't. At the barbecue, we did an egg drop, and we're all very lucky here that my egg didn't crack. I had a good team, because otherwise we wouldn't have any staff. Because my threat was all staff is going to be fired if my egg cracks, and it didn't. So Mariah, thanks for putting together that fun event, and I'm glad we didn't have to let anybody go from not having an egg crack.
So instead of weak mayor, it's mean mayor.
That's right. I walk around and I just threats everywhere. That's what happens. This is bad, but this is all recorded. It's fine. All right, I'll move into our public hearings. On the first item, receive public comments regarding increased compensation for executive municipal officers. We'll hear from Mariah.
Okay. All right, this is a new thing we have to do this year. So in the legislative session this year, they passed SB 92, which is local government officers compensation amendments. And it requires that a public hearing be held for proposed compensation increases for executive municipal officers. Reading the code, it is not the clearest of all, but what we've determined as best as we can that this is the list of the executive municipal officers in Midvale. And then these are the proposed increases and the notes on why they are being increased. Mostly it's just the standard COLA and merit that we are proposing, and then one market increases that we look at those across the board. It's not like we looked at the assistant city manager job specifically, and then the city attorney had a contractual increase.
Mayor, I move that we open public comment.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to open public comment on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move into public comment. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Mayor, I move that we close public comment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public comment. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Okay, public comment is closed. Don't have an action item with these, so we'll move on to item B, which is receive public comments regarding setting salaries for elected and statutory appointed officers for Midvale City.
This one is not new. Every year we do hold a public hearing on our pay plan that includes elected and statutory and appointed official officers of the city. I promised Matt Pierce that I wouldn't make him scroll through this like I did last time, and that was kind of a nightmare because this was in your packet. It just includes every position that we have and the grade for the pay and the pay plan that sets that out. This is just updated this year to represent the COLA that we're proposing the 3%, so that shifts the pay ranges. He will scroll if you would like him to, but there's nothing, yeah.
So just for public record, the mayor and council,
It is you do have to scroll up a little bit. There we are.
and our increases are going up 3.3%.
Yes, we have an ordinance that states that our mayor and council get increases based on the Western May CPI, and that came to 3.3 this year.
which in my mind was one of the smartest things we ever did, because there's a certain city, Salt Lake City right now, who's debating a very, very significant increase in their mayor and council member salaries that I think are probably worth it, but they haven't increased in quite a long time. So it's sticker shock to residents who see 20%, 22%. But the 3.3%, I think, is a wise measure that we instituted a few years ago. And Mayor, I move that we open public comment.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a motion and a second to open the public comment on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move into public comment. Do we have any public comments on this item?
Mayor, I move that we close public comment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public comment. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, public comment is closed. Thank you. Mariah, you get a very quick break for the consent agenda with one item, consider minutes of June 4th, 2024. If there are no changes to those minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Or you can give that to whatever, either one of them. Any discussion on that? Rory, if you call roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Billings,
Yes.
Robinson. Aye. Brown
Yes.
and Gettle.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving to our action items of tonight. We've got several of them. First up, consider resolution number 2024 R31, adopting a proposed tax rate on all real and personal property in Midvale City for calendar year 2024.
Okay, so for this, we're gonna talk quite a bit about property taxes, and then I'm gonna show you the budget where it's at right now. I've called it the proposed budget because it is different from the tentative. Hopefully it will be what the final is, but it isn't the final because we're moving into truth and taxation. So for the general fund, our total revenues and expenditures have increased a tiny bit from the tentative budget. We're at just over $30 million, which is a 19.43% increase from our amended fiscal year 24 budget. This includes about 1.6 million in new ongoing funds, and then a proposed use to fund balance, which is one-time funds of just about 3.3. The majority of that is for the public works building. For our revenues, our taxes are at 18.3 million. Anything in red means it has decreased from the previous fiscal year. So license and permits, 710,000. Our intergovernmental revenue is 4.63. Charges for services, 2.3. Fines and forfeitures, 885,000. Our miscellaneous revenue is 214,000, and the use of fund balance is 3.3 million. So here are the changes since the tentative budget in our revenues. We have a significant decrease in our property taxes, which is good. That means a decrease in what we're proposing to be a property tax rate. I also decreased our franchise tax revenue. Just looking, I relooked at all our actuals. I had 2 more months of data, and so felt it was right to decrease that by 250. It's still increasing from about $250,000 from the previous year, but not quite as much as it first looked like. And then all the rest of those line items essentially were me going through and looking at the new data that we got and adjusting just to make sure we can be as accurate as possible, except for the homeless shelter funding that came in higher than we were suggesting by about $755,000, which is great. So for our tax revenues, we're proposing our sales tax is $11.4 million. That hasn't changed from the tentative. Our property tax is $3.55 million. This is a 14.52% property tax increase, $450,000 in new revenue, and about a $32 increase on the average household annually. We talked about franchise tax already, and then the total of the rest of the tax is about $800,000. Okay, I talked about this last time. I'm going to talk about it again. Midvale City residents pay property taxes to 11 different entities. Midvale City makes up only 6% of this. I looked for 2024 data, but because all the entities are just deciding and going through and having their meetings to decide it felt a little too messy and it couldn't be consistent data. So we're sticking with the 2023 tax rates, but you can see of their about $3,500 bill in 2023 that an average household would have paid on property taxes. Midvale is about $215 of that. And then Bryant, you asked for this last time. So this is the tax rate overview of the different cities and the counties and where Midvale falls. So in 2023, we're third from the bottom with, so I was able to get 2024 data on the cities mostly. So you can see who is proposing to go into truth and taxation. And even with our proposed increase, we are still fourth from the bottom, still pretty low in the county.
Thanks. Hopefully it didn't take too much time. I just think it's very valuable.
Yeah, no, I have access to the behind the scenes websites that makes it pretty easy. Okay, so just for an overview on property taxes and how they're calculated, we take the previous year property tax revenue plus any new growth that has happened in the city, and then the county and the state divide that by the assessed property tax value, and that gives us what's called the certified property tax rate. So when assessed values go up, our tax rate goes down, which is actually what happened with our certified tax rate this year. And then when assessed values go down, the tax rate can go up without going through truth and taxation. Assessed property value is the total assessed value less allowable exemptions. The main one of that is that residential homes get a 45% exemption. And then if you wish to have additional revenue, then an entity needs to go into a process called truth and taxation. So for 2024, the tax year information that we've got is our total taxable value is $3.6 billion. We didn't have any new growth this year. I called the tax commission about this, and they basically said the RDA growth was greater than the other city growth, and that kind of wiped it out. I don't fully understand, and so I'm going to reach out to the tax commission and get a meeting with them to make sure that that totally makes sense to me. I talked with Matt and Nate about it. We understand what they're saying, but it doesn't really make sense in the rest of the context of what we understand about property taxes. And then the average Midvale residential value increased by about 7.2%. So it's up, it was 438,000, is now 470,000, which makes the taxable residential value $258,500. So here is the certified tax rate that the county provided to us would be 0.000847, which is a decrease from our current property tax rate, and would generate just over $3 million in property tax revenue and have the average residential home paying $218,000. What we're proposing is a tax rate of 0.000970, which would generate $3.5 million in property tax revenue, and would have the average residential taxes about $250 annually, which is about $32 annual increase on an average home, which is a 14.52% increase. For the truth and taxation process, you need to either adopt the certified tax rate or the proposed tax rate on or before June 22nd. And then 2 weeks before the public hearing, we have to have a newspaper publication. They have a very specific format that is generated that has to be in the newspaper because there's multiple cities doing increases in the county will actually do that first one combined. They do a big combined one for all of the people going through truth and taxation. And then a week before, we'll publish our own in the newspaper as well. Ads are placed on multiple websites. And then the public hearing date will be confirmed by the county auditor. I've tried to get that scheduled because I had it last year, I think, when I gave this presentation, but I haven't gotten that back. It will be sometime in August. And it can't conflict with any other entity that our taxpayers pay tax dollars to and are going through truth and taxation. So it can't be on the same night as Canyon School District. And then we can't have any other items on the agenda the night that we vote on that, except for the budget or fees or other things associated with the tax increase. Okay, so just to go through the rest of the budget to so you know exactly what you're voting on. These are the ongoing expenditures that were presented last time. We have public safety increase of 1.85 million, salary increases, which are 3% COLA, 2% merit, market, and midpoint of 192,000. Our benefit increases are 93,000. We have IT equipment increases of 48. Our liability insurance increase 10,000. We have a city hall art program for 5,000. Communication software for 12.5, and other software increases of 12. An event software that's 12. K one-time, 8K ongoing, and then just general operating increases across all departments in the general fund is 42,000. And then we do have a building official and plan review FTEs included in the budget, though that's offset by a reduction in the contract for 278. And then a reminder that again, this budget year, when we were going through this whole process, departments cut anywhere that they could, any money that they weren't using. So we also cut 35,000 across all departments in the general fund. For one-time expenditures in the general fund, we have grants of 130,000, the renewable energy program that we were presented tonight for 20,000, outside legal counsel for 60,000, harvest days is 90, and then the transfer to the capital projects fund for the public works facility for 3 million. Here are the changes in the expenditures. We had a decrease from what we proposed for you guys because I think we had to at the full 5% of everyone else. So that decreased a little bit. We increased our postage, had some changes in our insurance actuals. The UPD contract did come down a little bit from what we had in the tentative budget. We moved some FTEs around for finance salaries and had some turnover. The IT software is decreasing a little bit. And then we have a one-time request for some additional software in the IT fund. And then the transfers to the telecom fund, that gets a little mixed up depending on what's the amount we get back from Utopia. So that changed a little bit. We do have a request for radios for public works for 65,000. That's a part of our emergency management stuff that we're working on. A change to property insurance and facilities, that's the vehicle insurance. There's a request to move our cemetery software from its current version to an online version. So that's $5,000. And then across the departments, we didn't have originally budgeted our, let's see, Rory, you might have to help me with this. The contribution to our HSA contribution increased. And so to pay 90%, we had to increase the cost.
Government increased the lowest amount by $100. So we had to increase the budget to still pay the 90%.
Yeah. And then the vehicle operating costs across departments decreased because of the changes in insurance. Funds with no changes in this proposed budget are the debt service fund, sanitation fund, and the telecom fund. The capital projects fund has had a small change in that we're increasing our facility maintenance by $35,000 to put new carpet in the impact. And then in all of the enterprise funds, they had that same benefit increase for the change that we just talked about, and then vehicle operating decreases because of the changes in insurance. And then the only difference really is in the street light fund, we hadn't had what we talked to you guys about is doing a street light master plan, and now that's budgeted for $100,000 in the street light fund. In the internal service funds, the fleet fund had a decrease in operating revenue. This is when Matt talked about like one thing changes across to all the things. This is the change in the insurance changed, and then the revenue that goes into the fleet fund changed, and then all the departments pay. It's, you know, really fun. And then in the information technology fund, it was out of bounds by $88. So we're going to use $88 of fund balance, more than we had projected. And then we'll have that transfer from the general fund for the increase in software to have our Esri software implemented. But that's a one-time cost.
I have a question. Do you have a very like high level number where you could say, you know, based on last fiscal year and this fiscal year, our expenditures are this dollar amount higher?
Yeah, but I got to grab my computer.
Okay. Because I'm just interested. I mean, obviously the largest item is public safety at 1.85 million additional. So I'm just wondering how much.
It's also going to be skewed because the general fund has to be balanced, right? And so when we're using that fund balance to transfer to the capital projects funds, like technically that's an expenditure out of the general fund. And so really it is 19.43% more than last year. But if you want to look like just at operating costs or things like that, then I mean, I'm happy to do those calculations. But our revenues and expenditures are equal, and they're 19.4%.
I think it's just important for our residents to know that the major increase from last year to this year is public safety. And if we can hone down on an exact dollar amount with a percentage to say of the increased expenditures this year, 60% of it is specifically for.
Well, yeah, so there's the piece that like we only are generating at 1 point, even with the property tax increase, 1.5 million new ongoing dollars, and the UPD increase is 1.8 million. Like that in and of itself speaks to that,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to put together those numbers. We started talking with Laura today about kind of the campaign, the educational campaign around this
Okay.
increase. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you on the spot and say, calculate them right now and let us know, but
Yeah, it will be a lot of clicking because I have
Yeah.
95 tabs that have to go there. I will figure that out though, and like,
thank you.
Yeah.
I like that idea, Councilmember Gill. No, I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I think I've stated this before, but when UPD and just going through this reorganization, there's been a ton of work on that. But when that increase alone is 1.8 million, and we are short, 451,000, I think it shows just the amount of work that has gone into trying to keep things as low as possible. So I don't expect anybody to love almost a 15% property tax increase, but I think it shows just the times of where we're at, and really I think the more that we can communicate all the work that has gone into actually keeping that lower, and we've been able to bring that number down, and so appreciate all your work on that.
yeah, and I left out my sales tax thing, but I think it's important to note that we kind of, even though like since COVID have like said, we're in, uncertain economic times, our revenues had still stayed steady or showed growth in almost every sales tax, whatever. And all of that is kind of slowing. It's all just kind of, there's not growth in the different taxes like we've seen in the last 4 years. They're kind of stabilizing, or some even kind of decreasing. So that also has an impact on what our property tax increase has to be.
All right, any other
Any other
questions?
questions?
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2024-R-31, proposing a tax rate of 0.000970 for calendar year 2024.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Rory, if you would call roll, please.
I don't know that I clarified. This is not voting on that tax rate. This is voting to move us into truth and taxation also, just so that's clear for the record.
Sometime in August,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. If you call roll, please.
Yes. Councilmember Billings. Yes. Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
And Getta.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item B, consider resolution number 2024-R32, adopting the fiscal year 2025 Midvale City Municipal Fee Schedule and Utility Rates. All right.
I'm not gonna look at Matt Pierce. It takes longer when we're on Zoom for him to transfer the.
I know the answer to this, but just because I think it's been brought up before, there is, when I say something wrong, you can correct me. There's a fee study that has been going on for a while, and so this does not include any of that. And when that is done, you'll have to come back, and then we will continue to
Yes.
update based on that study.
I made this a presentation this time, so Matt didn't have to weirdly scroll through it. Okay, so the changes that are proposed in this is that we have a building rental and events fee changes are just adding security deposits to the Bingham Junction Park Pavilion rental and the main park pavilion rental. There are security deposits on all the other rentals that we have already. And then our utility rate changes for the water is updated per resolution 2021-R31 and the water CFSP to help fund capital projects and bond payments. The base rates in area 1, 2, and 3 are increasing by approximately 8% across the board, and consumption charges are also increasing approximately 8%. And then after next year, with the final increase of this resolution, all of the areas should have the same base rates, which I know my department will be really grateful for, so they don't have to figure that out. And sewer similarly updated per resolution 2021-R31 and the sewer CFSP for capital projects and bond payments, and both the base rates and consumption charges in sewer are also increasing 8%. The stormwater charges are increasing 4%. That's from 9 to 936 monthly. Stormwater master plan is currently underway. I'm pretty positive it will propose that we have a greater increase than this. So to avoid using one-time funds and kind of do some incremental increases, this is what I've proposed. And our waste collection fees are also increasing 4%. This is due to contractual operating increases in both our landfill and waste collection companies.
Have we looked at our garbage
It's coming up this
contract?
year for an RFP.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome, thanks.
So, sort of tangentially related to that last point. I know we're sort of contract with them where residents can, like get a dumpster or whatever. Is that fee changing too?
That one is also going up 4%. It was in the red line version.
That's what I thought. Are people using it?
Yeah, we do have people use it.
It just seems very high.
It's like 230-ish or something like that. And they get it for 3 days. But yeah, people use it.
If you leave a dumpster overnight in your house, 3 days, it doesn't really matter how many days your neighbors stuff ends up in the dumpster.
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah. I haven't heard people complaining about the price.
Well, I just wonder how many people don't use it because of the price, you know, they just look at it and go, "Oh, I'll just keep using my regular garbage or something." It just seems high.
That's just cost from the hauler. Some cities do have lower costs, but they're subsidizing it through their,
Yeah,
That's the only, that's the difference is the city's paying for it.
yeah.
I know that, in a conference of mayors meetings, they were talking about this. How does everybody do bulky waste type pickup? And I know that West Jordan had said, I think it's like $50 to rent a dumpster or something, but they don't do any kind of bulky waste curbside pickup like we do. So we do the curbside and then have this option. Maybe that's where we would also see less usage.
It is, and it's like our fees have to be set based on what, when we get the
Right.
bills, literally someone goes through and says, yes, this person paid and it was delivered to their house and it's the cost of it plus the administrative fee.
Bulky waste is funny because since Councilmember Gettle and I have been on this, I feel like we've done like 4 iterations of discussions and it's just picking up garbage. It just never feels quite perfect, but you know, that's all I was wondering. My mom's in West Jordan and I think it is $50. That's why she got it the other day. I was like, what? I looked at bars. I went, oh man, it's.
I feel like what it would come down to is that what we would have to do basically is raise the garbage cans that people have at their house every day, then to cover the cost of those. Yeah.
Yeah. If not necessarily saying we should change it, I just wondering. So thank you.
All right, if there's no further questions, comments, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2024 R32, adopting the fiscal year 2025 Midvale City Municipal Fee Schedule and Utility Rates.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, if you call roll, please.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Brown,
Yes.
Gettle,
Yes.
and Billings.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Action item C, consider resolution number 2024 R33, adopting amendments to fiscal year 2024 general fund budget. Right.
I just had a moment, was like, well, I know I have another thing. What is it? I've talked about so many things.
I was going to read it for you. don't worry.
Thank you. And my presentation would have told me, past Mariah, she wrote the title. This is good, or I should. Okay, well, I can start, I think. Okay, so this is essentially the same as what you were presented. There's just one small change with harvest days. We had changes in the homeless shelter grant this year, an increase of 96,000 for a total of $2.7 million. The expenditure changes on the other side of this is that we are transferring funds to the RDA for the 700 West Sidewalk construction project just north of the building. And they purchased $20,000 of Narcan as well with that money. The general fund, we are increasing our sales tax to meet actuals by about $437,000, which makes our sales tax total in fiscal year 24, 11.2. I had projected that really conservatively. For expenditure changes in the general fund, we have small changes across departments of just over $82,000. This includes salaries and benefits changes in multiple departments. There's retirement payouts and new employees for about 23,000. We needed to increase our Salt Lake County signal maintenance by about $20,000. Harvest days, we have this is the change from the public hearing last time, $13,000 of 2024 harvest days, things that will need to be purchased before June 30th. So that's to cover that. And then $25,000 across departments covers our strategic planning, elections, postage, Kansas School District fundraisers, employees association, and planning and zoning overtime. And the capital, and then the last thing is that with the sales tax increase and then a use of fund balance of about $1.8 million, we're also budgeting a transfer to capital project. This is a situational transfer that we just need to budget for it in case we need to transfer the money to ensure that our general fund balance stays below 35%. As we go through the audit, we'll see that our fund balance could decrease above that, and then we can transfer to capital projects to stay below that and not get an audit finding. And then here is the detail that was also in your packet. But I basically just went through all of that.
Questions, comments from Mariah? I'd entertain a motion.
Thanks for listening to me.
You're done?
I'm done.
Oh, no. Mayor, I move we adopt resolution 2024-R-33, adopting amendments to the fiscal year 2024 budget for the general fund.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, if you could call roll, please.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Gettle,
Yes.
Billings,
Yes.
and Robinson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving on to item D, consider resolution number 2024-R-34, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Consort North America, Inc. for final design of phase 1 of the Jordan and Salt Lake City Canal Trail. Adam.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. While the slides are getting pulled up, I'll just give a little bit of a background. So in 2021, the city received a technical planning assistance grant from UDOT, the Utah Department of Transportation, for a canal trail feasibility study, which was done. And that was completed in 2023. That study identified the two main canals that run through Midvale, which is the Jordan and Salt Lake City Canal and then the East Jordan Canal. And part of that study recommended a phase 1 of implementation, so a final design and then ultimate construction of a first phase of the Jordan and Salt Lake City Canal. It identified that area as basically just west of the Mid-Valley Elementary School, basically from 7,500 south to 7,800 south. The agreement that's before you tonight is for that final design of that first phase with Consort North America, Inc. And once that final design is done, then we will move into the construction of the first phase. The agreement before you tonight allows, or the resolution allows the mayor to sign the agreement with Consort to move forward with that. We have the funding in place through various grants. And because of that, I am asking that the council consider a suspension of the rules in order to allow the mayor to sign that. And that is called out in the motion as well. I can answer any questions that you might have.
This is for, design, not construction.
Yeah, this is for the design. And then in that RFP, they do talk about construction that we can continue on with them to manage that construction, but this is just for the design phase.
And will we be doing more, will they conduct public
Yes.
engagement?
That was a
workshop?
large part of
Okay.
this is public engagement.
So this will, because we've already done a study, right?
The feasibility study basically described, the general routes and what they might consist of. So this is going into the final design. So it's getting into the finer details of that particular segment.
Right. So what I was getting at is with it being sort of the design phase, I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be like every engineering, thing that's needed to make it work, but will it be pretty substantial? So whether we use them or not, it won't cost. you know, the studies to me with these always make me like, oh, we all want it, I think. How do we just get going?
Yeah, this is the next phase of the study. So the feasibility study identified, okay, yeah, we can do this. This is a general rough estimate for the entire, the entire segment or the entire canal trail. This is actually the design of phase one. So we're beyond the study phase. We're down into the getting this designed engineering and everything.
So we'll be able to make an educated decision on cost and look.
Yeah.
Pretty definitively, I guess is
Yes.
the point. Okay. I know it's a weird question, but sometimes we get these and I want to be like, no, this is what's gonna look like. This is the
Yeah.
timeline. So much it's gonna cost. We'll start here, we'll end here and because I think there's some pushback, obviously for neighbors that live close.
Yeah.
Weirdly within like a house or two, it dies really quickly. So I think will be very good when it's done, but
Yeah.
I think we need to be, showing what it's gonna be like.
This area for phase one was chosen because of its proximity to the school. And so it will have a pretty beneficial and substantial impact and use. And so that's why it was chosen as the first phase.
And this is the one, as I remember, there wasn't a lot of public criticism of this particular canal, the stretch of the canal.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of residential coming up to the canal on this phase. Is that correct?
Yes, and again, this, just because of the impact this will have as the first phase, it's kind of a good poster child, if you will, for what the canal trail can be and what it serves.
And hopefully we just keep moving forward. I know there's some angst from some people, but I feel like if it doesn't run the full length of the canal and if other cities don't either end join, I don't say it's failed per se, but you don't get the full enjoyment of what the idea is, right? Like if it's just a path kind of by the school, that's cool. But to, have a full trail in a pretty urban city, I think is what we want, and I know there'll be growing pains.
Yeah,
But
similar to the Jordan River Trail, it would be horrible if, the Jordan River Trail only existed in certain cities and stopped in Sandy and then started up again in Draper. So yeah, that's very crucial. It's a good point.
Yeah, we're excited for this. I think it'll be a really good thing for Midvale, especially as we do phase one and then we move on to additional phases. But again, we've got the funding in place for the final design, and then we also have funding for construction of that phase one. So this is the first step in that.
thank you.
I'm saying this a little bit out loud for me and then Matt, Adam, Laura. I just want to make sure that we proactively engage the school district on this. I'm sure that as this phase is happening, especially it's being constructed, the school district will probably be asked a lot of questions about what's going on, making sure that it's a design that they are comfortable with and are fully aware about what we're doing.
If they're not funding it, I don't care what they like or not.
I think they will.
It
but
sounds
they are-
rude, but
they are
they're a
big-
little bit,
They're a big player in this.
I mean, more the families that are in that area
Yeah.
and knowing just their time in the community.
If they want to contribute, then definitely
I
want there,
agree.
but
As staff, we really appreciated Consor's efforts or their proposal to engage the public at multiple stages and to really, I guess you could say, dive into the weeds and really get the word out there, work with the school district, work with the neighbors. That was something that was impressive in the RFP or their proposal that they submitted.
All right. If there's no further questions or comments, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we suspend the rules and approve resolution number 2024-R-34, authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Consor North America, Inc. for final design for phase one of the Jordan and Salt Lake City Canal.
Second.
Okay, it's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, if you would call roll, please.
Councilmember Gettle.
Yes.
Billings.
Yes.
Robinson.
Aye.
And Brown.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Item E. Consider resolution number 2024-R35, authorizing the mayor to execute the interlocal agreement for animal control services between Midvale and Salt Lake County Animal Services. We'll hear from Aaron.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm Erin Summers, the Project and Policy Manager.
Last time I presented the where we were in the animal services agreement draft process, and tonight I'm just going to go over the final pieces and refresh some of the details with you. So as we discussed last time, we have used Salt Lake County Animal Services since 1986 for animal service needs within Midvale, and they currently furnish all animal service needs within Midvale. Our current agreement with them will end at the end of this fiscal year, and so we have been working with the animal services staff to finalize a new agreement, and we have it ready for council review and approval. So going over the highlights, of course, the agreement was in the packet itself, but the new term will run until July 30th of 2029 with an option to renew for 3 5-year periods. The annual cost is going to be just over $400,000. And since the last time I was here, the updated draft, the biggest changes that came out of it was that we now have the indemnity clause is reciprocal, and we were able to add a timeline for notification for Midvale for the price change, specifically that the county will notify us within 10 days of the county's adoption of the annual budget, and we are able to terminate within the 180 days of that notice if that price change is not feasible for Midvale City. This agreement will continue to maintain all existing service levels, and this is everything from emergency services and regulations, all over licensing and fee issuing, shelter services, maintaining all facility equipment and staffing, and any programming that the county does for education or spading and neutering, etc. That is the entire kit and caboodle. Sorry. You made a face.
The kitten part of it, that's just,
Kit and caboodle, isn't that what it is?
oh, I thought it was kitten.
No,
I
it's
thought
not
she was
kitten.
making an animal joke too.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh,
I was gonna say, today it's kitten caboodle.
yeah,
Animal
I
services.
missed that opportunity for a pun,
Next time.
but thanks for responding anyways. It was the appropriate response.
Aaron has the next item, so maybe we'll get a pun in then. You got pressure now. All right, any questions, comments on this item?
Real quick comment, as the chair of the Animal Services Advisory Board, one of the reasons that this increase has taken place is there's been a huge drop in the dollars collected on licensing. So that is an annual requirement. I have a few dogs myself who might be out of compliance currently, but I will clear that up as soon as possible. But just a reminder out there that, yeah, it is an annual licensing your dog. It's very quick and easy to do online.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2024 R35, authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement for animal control services between Midvale and Salt Lake County Animal Services.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, if you would call roll, please.
Yes, Councilmember Billings,
Yes.
Robinson, aye, Brown,
Yes.
and Gettle.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving on to our last action item, consider resolution number 2024 R36, authorizing the mayor to submit an application for Midvale to become a prospective party of the Community Renewable Energy Agency. Aaron.
All right, so council got to get an in-depth understanding of what this program is during your discussion tonight, but just giving you a overarching reminder, and so that it's on the record. This program was created through legislation HB 411 during the 2019 legislative session, and it enables communities to form an interlocal agreement that allows us to collaborate directly with Rocky Mountain Power to provide net 100% renewable energy by 2030. As
If you become a member of this group, you are responsible for paying a portion of the agency's operational costs. This is decided by a mix between the number of population and then your energy usage. On top of that, once you become a member, participating community members can expect to see $2 to $7 increases in their monthly power bills, unless you are a part of the HELP program or that Schedule 3, which is Rocky Mountain Power's program to help low-income participants receive just a little bit of extra help or credits towards their monthly power bills. Under this program, they will give up to a $7 credit for low-income participants within the program. Now, this program is also an opt-out program. So if we become a member, all aspects of our community members have the opportunity to opt out of this program and not have that additional payment on their monthly plan. Initially, when this program was started in 2019, there was a cutoff date for becoming a part of it. You had to declare your interest via resolution by the end of 2019 in order to participate in the program. During this last legislative session through SB 214, the deadline to join this agency was removed within the statute, which allows us to consider or investigate becoming a member of this program. On April 16th of this year, this council passed a proclamation in support of the Community Renewable Energy Program, specifically proclaiming that Midvale City shall explore how to make the Community Renewable Energy Program available to all Midvale City residents. And then on June 3rd, the agency board passed Resolution 2405, which formalized a pathway to allow communities to investigate becoming prospective members of the agency. The first step in this process is a non-binding application. Today, city staff is presenting the non-binding application and recommending submitting it. This application authorizes the agency to request a handful of information about energy usage among Midvale residents or within the boundaries of Midvale, specifically number of customers served and at what schedule rate, the monthly energy usage load for each customer class, and then also looking at a 10-year forecast. Rocky Mountain Power would then provide this to the agency, and they would be able to start building out what that cost would really look like for our constituent base. This non-binding application also declares an interest in participating in the agency, or at least initiates that process of saying, we'd like to know what this means for our city. As within the discussion, the folks who came to present on the agency to you guys mentioned also that there is a $100 fee associated with submitting the application. But after you submit the application, we have a couple of steps that should we decide that we are interested in joining the agency, we would have to sign on to their interlocal agreement and the utility agreement that they have with Rocky Mountain Power. We would have an initial fee of just under $11,000, and then we would have a secondary fee in a year's time, so at the end of August of 2025. And then we would have to appoint a representative to their board and a alternate representative, and we would develop the plan for low-income assistance and how we would promote that. That is based off of resolutions and language that they already offer, so it's within a specific rule set, and they would help us with that. And then we would have to submit a geographic map of Midvale to the agency, by far the hardest requirement that they have there. So outside of that, there is an ordinance that should we reach the point where this is feasible, we would have to adopt the ordinance that makes this a part of our code. But for now, this application is a very short application that just authorizes them to start building out the case of what it would mean for Midvale City to become a member of the agency. Questions, concerns, complaints, confidence?
This is interesting. I generally think this is a cool idea. Like the idea, want to go forward with it. I tried reading the law. You know, it's, I don't think it's written all that clear. And this information, we got, I waited to talk about it here. That way, in case other council members had it too or something, we could just have a discussion about it. So some things that I don't quite understand is, okay, let's say we do adopt it, right? And we're in, we spend even the 22 grand, we go for it. You know, what is the city's full-time, you know, like, let's say it folds in 3 or 4 years. Let's say enough people, 30% opt out in a year, you know, for whatever reason, the economy goes south and people are like, I'm gonna save the $7 a month. They can't keep operating, you know, their operating costs, even if they try to adjust, you know, everyone's rates double, they decide to fold, just, it happens, right? Businesses, ideas fold. Like, does the city have to pay? Will the city have to cover that cost? You know, if they, let's say go bankrupt or something and liquidate, like, are we on the hook? Like, how many years are we on the hook? What's our skin in the game? Besides that 22,000, it just doesn't seem clear to me what the city's, other than, you know, sort of promoting it, offering guidance, like on how to opt out. What is our actual, you know, liability here? And I'm not quite sure. The law doesn't really say, you know, I read through it a couple times and, you know what I mean? Like if Utopia folded, it would not be great, right?
And to be clear, because I don't know that any of us can answer your question right now, and because this is not us agreeing to be a part of the program. Just the other day, they only release, because really the quick timeline is because they have to submit their go through their RFP process, and so they sent us, they've got an interlocal agreement with all these communities. I don't think we've even gotten that in front of Aaron or Garrett at this point, to see if it's something they're comfortable with. This just allows us to say we're interested, and then continue to work on all of that before that August 31st to see if it's, and then continue the discussion.
But, you know, which I appreciate you, and August 31st seems far, but if we don't have a July 2nd meeting and whatever, like, it's not that many meetings away. It seems a little fiscally irresponsible to not know this. Like, I feel like they should say, you know, this is your city's, you know, again, great idea, but if we're, and are we locked in as a city for 20 years, no matter what? And then all of a sudden in 4 years, someone comes out with some cool new nuclear thing that other cities are joining. And now we're stuck, right? Because we've decided the technology of today will be the best for the next, you know, 20. I just don't know if I know those, and it just feels, I don't know if the word's rushed because it's been around for 5 years. It just feels like those are questions that should have been those are answers that should have been delivered up front. Like, this is what your city's going to feel, impact, whatnot. And just like the lady that spoke, you know, and it worries me because this is, now I don't have to buy solar because I'm doing this. And it's like, again, your house is actually maybe not powered by this, right? And so I feel like enough people find that out, there could be some frustrations. Like, I think they like the overall idea, but their home might not get it. And so there's some things that all of them can be worked out. I like the idea of even going forward, but I definitely want in our meetings, like, hey, what is, and then how do we get out of it, right? Let's say it does, you know, if it does fold, how do we get out of it? What's our life? And again, I don't know what the other council members think. I personally would be in favor of moving forward, but I wanted to make it clear to the staff that, you know, knowing all of these would be ideal, right? That way we don't run into an issue where, yes, and we pay 22 grand, and then in 5 years it collapses, and then we have to bond for $10 million to pay for a failed, you know, operating costs because we thought that. And I do want to just say, you know, luckily we talked about it earlier. There's 11 taxing entities. This isn't even really one of them, right? So if you include all of your utilities, if everyone averaged 13 or 15 utilities, if all of them averaged a $7 a month increase, that's $1,000 a year, right? So it's one of the things I kind of hate the way we talk about it. It's low, and we can't control everyone else's, but you know, the odds of everyone increasing enough to average $7 out of those are very high, right? And $1,000 a year will upset our citizens, rightfully so, you know. So 7 is a very high number that, hopefully it doesn't start there because it will not end there.
To me, this is like glass recycling. We opted to allow for a glass recycling company to offer that service in Midvale, and it was entirely optional, and it was $8 a month. So if $8 a month is what breaks your budget, then you don't opt for glass recycling. And this, as they mentioned, in detail, it's pretty easy to opt out, and you have, trying to think back, 4 billing cycles or so to do it.
I think it's 5 total, 2
Yeah.
or 3.
Yeah. So, it is an extra fee, but it is one that someone can very easily opt out of. So, that,
But if enough neighbors opt out, then your other neighbors go up and then it could snowball, right?
Yeah.
And if that's it, then I'm totally fine with it. If it's strictly just on the member, then hey, that's great. But it feels like, because we have to put money up front. Like, what else do we have?
The interlocal agreement and the utility agreement will go through legal and be read through and everything. From the cursory reading that I did it, the 2 payments that we have to pay is what they specifically mention, and then you don't get a refund if you back out. And it depends on when you're backing out and whether or not you've adopted the ordinance in each of those pieces. But from what I recall, it's a sunk cost, but
Right.
I will have those answers for you the next time.
And the 22,000 sunk cost makes sense to me. It's just, what other tie is there to us, right? And I think even if you do the 11 grand up front and it comes back and it's $20 and none of the cities are like, no, like, I don't think you pay the other 11 grand, right? So it's not, so to me, the upfront money isn't really an issue. It's mostly, it just feels like maybe there's other stuff and I want to know what the other stuff is.
To your point,
And you guys don't know either. Yes, I understand.
Well, once we get through if the council wants to go that direction, that is definitely the part that we're going to be working on next, is the details of the agreement that we need to enter into, and the resolution for the end of August. We'll come back for a discussion on that specifically then on the 16th of July, so that, and we'll have those terms worked out. I'm under the impression that this just gets us so that our residents can participate and that there isn't a significant cost to us if it falls apart. But we'll make sure that we have that clarified for that meeting in July.
Thanks. It's just a really high capital cost to build, right? Where the glass recycling is a good example on as far as opting in, but that capital cost is not the same, right? So if they just built this huge solar field and then collapse, someone's going to want their money.
I think the good news is we have a couple billion years left of the sun. So this program probably will be around a little while, hopefully. That's my best at a pun.
When the sun's no longer around, it won't even matter. It will be around for as long as it matters.
Yes. But I think, to your point, again, Councilmember Brown, what Lisa said, Lisa was the one who spoke during public comment. I think for a lot of people, it's very unfeasible, if not impossible entirely, to do solar. Like, if you rent, you can't put solar on your apartment. So I don't know her precise living situation, but perhaps that's what she meant. She just is one who can't put solar on her home, and this is a way for her to at least participate in a program that helps. So I think at the end of the day, if we approve this tonight, we are on the hook for $100. And if it comes back on August 24th and we all hate what legal has come up with, we can take that vote then. But if it's $100, I don't see the point of not at least moving forward to get more information.
I mean, I agree. I even think the first fee is worth it. Renewable energy is worth it. They also have a responsibility to, just to make sure.
Yeah, I agree. Clearly, I'm interested in this program, but I also want to make sure it's the right fit for us and not just jumping in just to jump in, right? Our energy production here is from a monopoly. And, I appreciate that this would actually give us a seat at that table of controlling some of what the power supply looks like. In Midvale, it gives our residents a choice. Residents can opt out. And so I think your questions are valid, and I'm hopeful we can work through all of those pieces, because then I do think there's a lot of benefit to being able to provide this kind of service to our residents. Great. Any other questions or comments? I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to suspend the rules and approve resolution number 2024-R-36, authorizing the mayor to submit an application for Midvale to become a prospective party of the Community Renewable Energy Agency.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rory, would you call roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
Gettle.
Yes.
And Billings.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to our discussion item of the night. Discuss proposed amendments to the Midvale City Personnel Policies Manual. We hear from Rory.
While Rory's coming up, I do want to just say that Rory has put a ton of work into this amendment. She was ready to go, I think, 1 year ago. And then we've made changes probably once a month, every month since then, just as new things have arisen, with the biggest changes happening after the last legislative session. We really just kind of got to the point of where there are even more things that have come up that we wanted to add, but we just had to. Roy had been pushing for us to just say we're done for a while, and I agreed that we're done and we're bringing this to you, but it's been a long work in progress.
It definitely has, and it's gone through a very comprehensive reformatting and rewriting process. The legal department has taken a long time, a lot of close looks at everything, as well as Mark Tolman. And if you don't know who Mark Tolman is, he works with us for HR, so we've had him go over it as well. A lot of the things that we have in here, we have some new sections with legislation. We have other sections that basically it's remaining the same, but it's reformatted. So it's in there, might just be in a different place, okay? I'll try and go through these fairly quickly. If you have questions, please stop me. And I'll make sure that you know which are the real major changes that we've done. So on page 8 is the first one. This talks about at will. This is for probationary employees, statutory at will employees, and also part-time that work under 30 hours. And that is who we determine are at will. And that is in with Utah Code 10.3.1105. And we also have on page 9, we have added the temporary seasonal. Sometimes we may need to hire. We haven't had a lot of that, but we might need it. So we put that in there in case we do need it. It is a temporary seasonal positions not to exceed 6 months in a fiscal year. Okay. On page 10, we have added a section for volunteers. Now we're making sure that our volunteers that we have, because we have a lot that want to help us, we also want to make sure that they're covered with our workers' comp and liability coverage. So we actually have them go through and do a background check just to make sure that we know who is helping these kids in the neighborhoods or in the community. And so we know what they're doing. So we're taking that very seriously. So we added that as well.
Rory?
Yeah.
Does that, sorry, I'm
No, go
very
ahead.
talkative. Does that apply to people that help with Arts Council? I know it's its own entity, but there's a lot of crossover, right,
We
between
have
like,
not done anything with the Arts Council volunteers, no.
because, right,
Yes.
that's what, because it's the same group sometimes.
We will have the Harvest Days. We did the mural festival. That was our first time giving it a shot. We have a great company that works with us, Western Verify, that only charges us $10 unless you have to go out further, a bigger search, depending on the person. And so it's been very beneficial, but we have not reached out to the Arts Council that I'm aware of and haven't done that yet, but we could.
It's not required in this, is what I'm getting.
No, it's not required in this. This is basically just saying what a volunteer is. But I wanted to bring up that cute little fact that we are doing the background checks. This basically just says that we want to make sure that they're covered under our workers' comp and liability coverage. If it happens to them, we got it. Is that me? Is that you?
I'm not.
It's all good. I feel like I have to get close because I'm so short. Under probationary employee, just wanted to make sure that you are aware, we've been doing this for some time, but we no longer give probationary increases. So when an employee is hired, they're on a 6-month probation. However, at the end of their probation, they do a performance evaluation with the department head. They have their goals. And once they're off probation, then they will receive their merit increase. But they do not receive a probationary increase, which we have done in the past. Any questions on that? Okay, recruitment policy. We have added in here an anti-nepotism policy. Feel that that is best. As many of you know, I used to have someone that worked here that was related, and it causes a lot of problems. No matter how you try to make sure that they're not given anything special, people will always think they are. So, and it's kind of actually mean that you have to be actually kind of mean to them so that your people don't think they're giving anything, any benefits. So we have no relatives unless it's approved by the city manager. And absolutely no relatives, employees that are related to the city attorney's office, human resources, information technology, or finance. So just so you know that we have added that to the policy.
Rory, I have a question.
Yes.
What about family members of elected officials? I feel like that's an area that we might want to
That's a good,
shore up a bit.
I like that. Yep.
Or, have a discussion of why we
Sure.
don't think that should be included. But I would be interested in what other cities have to say
Sure.
about that.
Absolutely. I'll check on that and find out. It's a great comment. Okay, that was page 12. On to page 15, we have added employment modifications and accommodations procedure. What this is doing is it's trying to get employees that are out on a workers' comp, they've been injured. I'm trying to get them back to work as quick as we can without violating any kind of doctor's recommendations of not to, doing heavy work. But the trust feels that once they get back into doing some kind of work, it brings them back to the office quicker, and they don't get complacent. And so that is what this is saying, is we're just trying to get them back in as quick as we can. And then the next session on 16, it starts on 16, it goes several pages. This is new legislation. This is regarding a government employee conscience protection accommodations. This basically is talking about religious beliefs. And if an employee feels like there's something that performing a task that they really feel like is against some kind of religious belief they have, the city has to look closely at that. They've got everything in here from, they've got exceptions. It cannot cause an undue hardship on the city for them to have that, whatever they're asking for, some kind of an exception, or not have to perform some kind of a task. So they have to make sure that it's not a hardship on the city, or else we do not have to approve it. Otherwise, we do have to approve it. And we need to go through a lot of steps to make sure that the city is covered and they are covered as far as what they're asking for. It talks about first responders. That one's kind of a hard one to look at if they're protecting the safety of the public. So we want to be careful about that. They have to make a written request within a couple of days after they have been given the task, and they have a good reason why. So this is a very long section. Do you have any questions that pop out on this? It's really different. There's an appeal process if they go through it. I don't know, Aaron is an expert. I'm sure he can answer all your questions if you want.
This is a state law though, so there's not like, we can't make it less or more.
Correct.
It's just, we have to
This is
adopt
what it
the
is.
state code, yeah.
Correct.
So we don't have to adopt a policy per se about this. We do have to follow the law, right? It is the state law as far as like what accommodations people need. The benefit that we get from adopting a policy is that it kind of sets the table for when there's disputes on our terms, in the sense that it creates timelines for appeals and that kind of a thing.
Correct.
And so we do get benefit out of adopting a policy.
this is a little random with this, but I don't know if we are thinking about this or have done this formally. I know the league, Utah League of Cities and Towns has been talking to cities about kind of tracking how long it is, just the amount of time that it takes to implement different state changes. Is that something that
Oh, interesting.
just maybe to think about for this one? I believe they've communicated they want to start asking cities for that information of, so I don't know on this thing specifically, but that just comes to mind of however much time this has taken
Yeah,
us
I'm
to
sure
get it to
Garrett's
this point to
spent
implement.
quite a bit of time on that one,
Yeah.
so. Okay, page 24. All we did on this one, on-call compensation was increased from 20 minutes away to 45 minutes away. We have a lot of employees that can get here within 45 minutes. So really great employees. We want to make sure that we give a little flexibility there. Okay. Luckily, I don't have a pink sticker on every page. Performance evaluations on page 28. We have changed our performance evaluation process. We have moved away from an online cumbersome process to, it's more of a manual process, but it seems to work a lot better. Sometimes you can get into these programs and everyone gets so confused, it doesn't work as well as you hope it does. So we've gone back to a manual process. It's really a good process. We set goals for the city. We set goals for personal goals, and thanks to Matt Dahl, it's been working really great. So we have a 6-month review to make sure the employees are on task, and it's worked wonderful. Page 31, we have a remote work policy that we put into place. This is for employees that have a position that allows them to work from home. Not every position is able to work from home. I don't let any of mine work from home because they're public facing and they're employee facing. So they have to be there to answer questions and to greet the public. Certain positions are able to work from home 1 day a week, and we will be changing the job descriptions to indicate whether they are eligible or not. Okay. Okay. You want me to go faster? Let me know. Just to let you know, ICMARC, if you recall, used to be a retirement firm, has joined with Mission Square. So you'll see Mission Square a lot. You probably already know that, but I wanted to make sure you did. So it's the same accounts, different name. Our training and travel policy has been updated, clarified. Maria did a great job on working on the travel policy. It works in tandem with the purchasing policy that we have. It is gives the employees a lot more information through here, tells them what is compensated, what is not. It helps tremendously. Any questions on that? Okay. Page 52. This is probably one of the bigger ones that we had. We had some questions about employees that have been in the system for some time. They've been in URS, they've been working in government, they come to a new position and they start over with their vacation. So we are changed this now to where they can, if they have been in URS for a certain amount of time, they can earn the same amount as those people that have had the accrued city service. So that's a huge benefit for someone that comes from another city. My deputy that I just hired had 15 years at Sandy. So she was very excited about this one. I think Glenn was too. Very excited about that one. So I think that'll be a real benefit to the employees. And with that as well, we've had some of these are issues that we may have run into with employees, and we're just trying to clarify a few things. With vacation, employees who fail to notify their supervisor of their absence, regardless of the duration, are not permitted to use leave time for those hours. Something that we've added that we needed to add. June 19th, as you well know, is with section 5-02I of the state. We're observing it the same as the state does, which was Monday this year. So
Can I make a comment on that? And I don't know what
Absolutely.
the other council members think. I work for the state and we obviously observed it on Monday, the 17th. And for me, I think that's an extraordinarily bad idea because this is the only holiday that celebrates one specific calendar day. So it doesn't make sense to me to celebrate it any other day unless it falls on a weekend. I mean, that's how it works for like Martin Luther King Day. So I just don't understand the push to celebrate it on any other day but the day that is the actual holiday. So I don't know if that's something we can look at. I mean, it doesn't, right? It's like, it's different than other holidays that it celebrates a specific calendar day.
And I would like to say, cause like July 4th,
Right.
if that's during the week,
4th and 24th.
you know, we're not gonna be like, oh, it's Monday, Friday.
Yeah.
Generally, it's nice to have the holiday there. You know, the legislator's calling a session tomorrow, a special session, and
Oh.
a lot of people, comment on how tacky that was, and it was people of color that pointed out the importance of the actual day to them. You know,
Got it.
Not the holiday, which it is, but the actual day.
The day.
Yeah. So I would also like that to be on the actual day.
That sounds great. We're more than welcome. We will do that.
I
Absolutely.
just didn't know if we had to follow, because the state is
We don't
going
have
to
to.
celebrate it that day.
Aaron, correct. We don't have to follow the state. It's kind of split half and half. People I've
Yeah.
talked to today said half of their friends have it off tomorrow and half had it off on Monday. So it's kind of split that we can do it either way you'd like.
And then if it falls on a weekend, then we'll do the Monday.
Correct.
Yeah,
Like we
I
would
think
the 4th or the
yeah.
24th or something. Okay, we'll make that
makes-
change.
Everyone's set deliberating. Are we allowed to just make that call? It sounds
Sure.
Well, and the other part of it is you will officially make that call when we approve the holiday schedule in
Correct.
January or whatever,
Yeah.
so.
Correct.
But we'll note that down and make that change in there, and then when you approve that, then you're actually.
And it just reads easier. It's like the goofiest, you know. If it's on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or
Yeah,
Friday,
it's-
it just
It's
seems.
confusing.
Yeah, let's just do what we do for
I
all
think
the other
that's
ones.
a great idea. Really great idea. Okay. We have also decided with sick leave, any employee that has been admitted to a hospital or an outpatient, as an outpatient, must have a doctor's release to come back to work. We've had some issues with this. We want to make sure that when they come back to work, they're ready and able to work, and they're not going to get re-injured while they're at work. On page 57, with that, again, an employee should only provide medical documentation to human resources, so they shouldn't be giving it to everybody and anybody in the city. And medical documentation, including FMLA forms, should not be submitted or provided to a supervisor or department head. We want to make sure that we keep that private. So we've added that in there. Then just down a little bit further on that page, under leave donations, we've had a little bit of issue with this. We've added in there that they cannot use any leave donations if they have had a history of sick leave abuse. If they're an earn and burn, then we don't want to give them leave donations if they're using up all their time with whatever they're doing and then they get sick and they've been using up their time for other things. Does that make sense?
So if someone doesn't have that history of abusing their sick leave and they're not at that threshold yet, they are eligible for.
Correct.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
as
so
long
they
as
have to have
that's,
40 hours accrued at the time that they go out for an illness. Has to be approved through their department head. But also we want to make sure that it's not someone that has, surprise, I have 40 hours
yeah,
at this time, but I haven't had for 3 years, type thing.
that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. Okay, and then just as a information, we've added in the parental leave as it was adopted by council, as well as the caregiver leave adopted by council. I can't even express enough how much employees are loving that. It's been extremely beneficial and an amazing tool to recruit. So thank you for that.
Can I make a pitch here?
Absolutely.
I would like to increase the number of hours from 160 to 240 if we can for both the parental and caregiver leave, if that's something the council is interested in as well. Because we initially debated 320 hours was 5 years ago now. And we compromised on 160 hours, which is what, 4 weeks? Yeah, so I still think that's a little low, and we have seen now, we have evidence behind it. The ceilings haven't collapsed. We've been able to maintain staffing levels with 160 hours. So again, I think that 240 is an incremental change after 5 years, maybe we can go up to that number.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Good, okay.
Matt looks like he has something to say.
Yeah, let us look at that a little bit. I mean, if that's where you want to go, that's your policy set. Let us just look at that a little bit more, and when we come back for that final approval, we'll highlight and discuss that a little bit. I do agree that the buildings have not fallen down with the current hours allotment. But even outside of this specific kind of leave, we've definitely in certain areas had short staffing that has required us to do extraordinary measures. Mariah right now spends a not inconsequential amount of time working the front desk area up there just because we're short staffed from not those kinds of things. And so I just want to look through that, make sure we're providing you with all the information before we settle on that, to make sure that we're not I hear you and I appreciate it and the staff will appreciate it, but just make sure we're providing good information before we finalize that.
Okay, and if you can, it would be interesting to hear if we have kept statistics of the number of people who have taken
I could get those for you,
parental
absolutely.
and the what was the other one? Caregiver.
Caregiver,
Yeah.
parental leave, yes.
What is interesting to me, and I totally appreciate what you're saying, Matt. But, you know, it's hard to like I would like to support people that want to have a family, right? And so I get that it's hard, but it's kind of like two different topics, right? Especially pregnancy, because that's a choice to, you know, make their family what they want it to be. So I get it. We should look at everything, but I kind of separate it like that stinks on those other issues, but I don't want to sacrifice what I think is fairly important, for it, but I also don't want to sacrifice the city. So I get it.
And I'm just saying, I'm not saying let's not do it. I'm saying I wasn't prepared to necessarily look at that, and we should probably just look at
a little closer
the situation a little bit more detail and come back to you and see how that works. But that's it. I just want to make sure we're providing all the details that we should before we make that change.
Okay, page 68 and 69. Oh, sorry.
And whether I end up coming back with data that says that might be a problem, or comes back and says that would be great, that doesn't change the fact that I appreciate the willingness to consider that as a significant benefit for our staff.
And Matt, I will be ready as I was 5 years ago with all of the data that shows why it's such a great idea.
Fair enough.
Okay, page 68 and 69. This again is with the legislation. This is the Breastfeeding Act. We cannot just set them in a closet somewhere. We have to have places for them to do this and make sure that they have the refrigeration, etc. And then with the pregnancy, there's sometimes some complications that come with pregnancy, and we need to be aware of those and work with the employees. This is something that says you will work with the employees if they have some complications, if they have any limitations, you will work with them. And I think that's a great law. I think it's really good. On page 70, we added a few things to code of conduct. We've kind of combined everything here. And this is one of those places where I've taken things from other areas and I put them in one that makes a lot more sense. So the code of conduct goes through a lot more professionalism, conflict of interest, honesty, confidentiality, gifts, et cetera, et cetera. It talks about appearance and things like that. I thought this was a more appropriate place for it. It's not new, it's just moved. Okay. Okay, and then on when we have employees, personal use of equipment, I forgot which section that was. We have added that they are not to be doing any online gaming, gambling, or subscription to video streaming while they're working. So we want to make sure that that's very clear. It's kind of a new thing, new age.
Is that going to, that won't affect YouTube because there is like very, okay.
Yes, we do have
a
a
lot
lot of things on YouTube, a lot of trainings, things like that. It's something that they're movies and things like that.
So just like Netflix, Hulu,
Yeah,
HBO Max.
You got it. You got it. Yes, yes. Again, on page 78, we have the harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. We have added to this. The attorneys have been really good at looking at this. We have added to it to clarify it, to make it a lot more comprehensible to employees, to make sure that they know how to report any issues and what the investigation entails, et cetera, or harassment, discrimination, or retaliation, that is not okay. We do not allow that. Then we have added on page 83, a drug-free awareness program. As our new hires come in, we're going to start going over with them the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse and make sure that they know that we have a drug-free workplace. So they're very much aware of that, and they receive a copy of the policies at that time.
Question about that
Yes.
as well, and I've
Yeah.
asked this in years past. Do we have a policy that specifically relates to workers who might have medical cannabis cards?
Yes, you're just a couple pages ahead of me.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's coming up.
That and legislation this year made us.
Correct. Yes, correct. With safety sensitive positions, we have added any positions or any jobs that may not have a CDL, but they may be using heavy equipment, just to make sure that those employees also are drug-free. We want to make sure that they understand what it means to be under the influence if they're using that kind of machinery. And then on page 90 is where we have the legislation about medical cannabis and prescription use. The city will treat medical cannabis the same as any other controlled substance. It is a prescription. It just cannot be used at work, cannot be under the influence at work. But it would be looked at as a prescription with a medical card.
And is that that is the new Utah code?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it's 34A 115. I'm almost done, promise. Okay. We've also added, we've kept in here employee discipline standards of conduct. Section C on page 92. Basically, this is saying that if employees have a professional license, they use their driver's license, have to drive here, right? They've got to have their driver's license. If that, for some reason, is lost, it gets taken away from them. For some reason, they have to let us know immediately. If they have any kind of a arrest or theft or something like that, they have to let us know immediately so that we know that they cannot be using machinery, etc. And also we've added to section C under standards of conduct on that same page. We had in there, if they are convicted of a felony, class A misdemeanor, we added a class B, which includes theft, fraud, robbery, identity fraud, and offenses against administration of government, false records, destroying records, and I believe DUIs are class B. Is that correct?
DUIs are class B.
Okay.
I don't see that they're necessarily included, although it would
Yeah.
fall under like the loss of a CDL or driver's license if that's the case, which it often is.
Right. Same thing. Okay. That is what Garrett told me to. And then on page 101 is the purchasing card policy that has been approved by council previously. Very detailed again. Maria did a fantastic job on detailing out everything that the card can be used for, any kind of restrictions and things like that. So it's very detailed, several pages. Do you want me to go through it or you're good? Good, that's all I got. I'm always looking at Heidi. She's always looking at me. So I'm like, okay, just give me the nod, Heidi, give me the nod. Okay, I'm good. Look, I didn't even move I'm so sorry. Here, Matt.
Well, so I took notes of that. So there's the 240-hour issue. Was there, did I miss anything on any other issues that we needed to work through from
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth, that's right. Okay, got it.
I had one other suggestion. If we're gonna go through and determine like which jobs are remote eligible.
Yes.
I think I've mentioned this in the past too, but when we have bad air quality days, I would like to have some policy in place that encourages those who have already been approved for remote work to be able to work from home on those mandatory air action days.
Got it.
Okay, great. No closed session tonight. So, but we do have an RDA meeting, but I'll ask for an entertain motion to adjourn this one.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we're adjourned. That was very enthusiastic, I can tell. It is 9:10 now. Do we need a break? We good? Our RDA meeting is not too long, hopefully. Welcome, everybody. It's 9:11 PM. I'll call this meeting to order. Rory, if you would call roll, please, just as soon as you are ready.
I'm good. Board Member Billings. Here. Gettle.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Robinson. Here. Board Member Glover's excused.
Thank you so much. I'll move into public comments. Any person wishing to comment on any item not otherwise scheduled for a public hearing on the agenda tonight may address the redevelopment agency of Midvale City at this point by stepping to the microphone and stating their name for the record. If you have any public comments. Seeing none, move on to consent agenda with just the minutes. Consider minutes of May 7th and May 21st, 2024.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on that? Rory, would you call roll, please?
Yes. Board Member Brown.
Yes.
Gettle.
Yes.
Billings. Yes. And Robinson.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Moving to our action item of the night, consider resolution number 2024-16 RDA authorizing the chief administrative officer to enter into an agreement between the redevelopment agency of Midvale City and Mountain States Lighting LLC for the design and construction of festival lighting on Midvale, Maine. Kate?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, RDA Board. So a brief summary at where we're at with the festival lighting project. We all know that back in March of 2023, received grant funding for the installation of festival lighting along Midvale, Maine. We were working with a contracted company, Le Mans Studios. Unfortunately, they became in breach of our contract and they were not able to complete the project. At which point the RDA initiated an RFP process again, and Mountain States Lighting applied. And they were actually working with Le Mans Studios as their kind of like local person. So it was also helpful that they kind of had that background information. But through their proposal, they've demonstrated that they have the expertise needed to complete the festival lighting project and at the same time replace the outdated and mismatched street lights along Midvale, Maine. So the timeline for this project, they are currently working on a design as they were working on it before with Le Mans. The final design will be due at the end of June. The design build amendment will come back before the RDA board, hopefully at that second meeting in July, which will approve the final cost and the complete design. Once that amendment is approved, they'll start the production of the material. And they'll work with an electrician to do the road cuts and electrical work, which will begin in August. And then the installation of the new street lights and the catenary lights and projection lights will begin in mid-October. The installation of those lights should be completed by mid-November, so just in time for the Light Up Main Street event. And then after they have all of that installed, they'll go back through and remove all of the old street lights. So these are not the final design, but this is just to kind of give you a glimpse at what we're looking at. They're getting close, but the lights on the left-hand side, that's the new town lights as they're calling it, and that'll be kind of on the newer section of Main Street. And then you have the Old Town lights, which will be on the older section that kind of have the old historic look to them. And then here's kind of an overview of the catenary lights. It's similar to what we've shown you in the past, although the new town, it's not as, it's a lot more uniform the way they've designed it. So we like that a lot. And then in the old town, you can kind of see that we've kept that linear design. But we're pretty excited about it. The key terms of the agreement. So Mountain States Lighting will complete the design at no cost to the RDA. In exchange, the RDA agrees to purchase the materials and products that they manufacture in-house. Mountain States Lighting will develop the lighting design, and then upon approval, we will enter into the amendment. There will be a fixed contract sum, which is established before finalizing that amendment. It'll be based on whatever the final design is. Once that's determined, the plan or the construction cannot exceed this agreed upon cost. They'll be responsible for all the construction methods, overseeing any sort of subs that they have coming out to work, schedules, and quality control checks. The work will have to be completed and all project funds expended by December 31st. They will receive their progress payments based on project completion. And all work will have to comply with applicable laws, and they have to warrant all of their materials and equipment used in the project. So for the fiscal impact, we are getting $200,000 as a reimbursement grant from the track support program. To date, the RDA has set aside $187,700 through the Main Street CDA budget. If there are additional costs based upon that final design, that funding will come from the RDA budget and the streetlights fund. So we are asking that the RDA board, if they choose to move forward with this agreement, that they suspend the rules. We're already behind due to the need to find a new contractor. We do have the grant funding. As of right now, our amendment says that it should be done September 2024. I've already reached out to the county, asking for the deadline. Sounds like they're willing to work with us. So I'm working with them currently to get that grant deadline extended. Any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited about this project, but my concern is, and thankfully this is a local company, but we all know what the weather can do that time of year. Is the anticipation, is it built in that there could be some delays due to weather? Like, how do they plan for that? Because it seems to me this type of construction is going to be heavily impacted by that.
No, that makes sense. I'll confirm with them, but I will say that they manage all of the county streetlights, so they definitely know what the weather is like and have worked in those conditions before. The electrician that they have been using to kind of come up with these plans have also worked on large city projects, and they were the ones that came up with the schedule. But like I said, I will verify that they are keeping in mind that weather may not always cooperate with their plans. And I've told them that I really do not want to have to extend this grant one more time. And they understood that. And so I'm hoping that the deadline they got is like worst case scenarios.
I'd like to just thank you guys for adding in the into the design to hang those flags, right?
Yeah.
We don't even have to use them right away or anything, but I just like them a lot better than adding them later with those straps around them. I just think that looks sort of, whatever. So if we can wrap in the cost now, it seemed to make sense. I thought the example they used was kind of cheesy. It was not like the best. Here's this one thing we did in what looks like an abandoned area. That being said, the arch is really cool.
Yes.
Have we ever thought of doing something like that on either end one day? Because that would look very cool to have, Midvale, Maine.
Yeah, so the streetscape lighting and like landscaping study that we did prior to this project recommended an arch at the south end of Main Street near Center Street. So we do plan on doing that eventually. We were just going to get this project kicked off, and then that would be.
Looks like the same group could do it because that, like I said, it's kind of cheesy, but that looks great. And I'm like, oh, now I can visualize it. That would be cool.
Yeah, their examples weren't the best. They've talked a lot in our meetings about doing a lot of the projection lighting of during when the Olympics were here and they would light up the buildings downtown. They were in charge of that project. But I guess they didn't provide those pictures. And I tried to find like anything on their social media, but I guess their Instagram account wasn't live back in 2002. So
I know that Councilmember Glover would ask this. Will they have plugs?
Yes. Yes,
Just
they
want to
will.
make sure when he's
will
like,
ask that. He will
yeah,
ask that
we'll be like, can we put speakers on that?
Yes,
Plugs.
yes, and we've
That
talked
answer
to
is
them
yes.
about having it essentially equipped so that if later on we decide to do speakers, that there would be adequate power for that to take place.
Amazing. He'll be so happy
Yes.
wherever he is in Europe.
He'd ask a question about cost too, but we know what that is, so.
No, and so that'll be something that we bring before you guys. Like, we will obviously outline the cost and then show what we get with that design. It's going to probably be more than what we first anticipated, because before we were just thinking about adding poles with the existing streetlights. But in talking with these designers, they're like, why are we adding additional poles when you could just redo all the streetlights and utilize those as the poles for the string lights across, so.
All right. There's no other questions or comments. I would entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules and pass resolution number 2024-16 RDA, authorizing the chief administrative officer to enter into an agreement between the redevelopment agency of Midvale City and Mountain States Lighting LLC for the design and construction of festival lighting on Midvale, Maine.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Or if you would call roll, please.
Board Member Gettle.
Yes.
Billings. Yes. Robinson. Aye. And Brown.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. No closed session. I would entertain a
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
We're adjourned. Thank you.